a fucking priority right now, homie.
Yeah.
That was his final nail in the coffin to getting fired. But
how do you shoot himself, Nate?
With a gun, idiot.
The 18 Alpha. He'd been on the team for 2 weeks. They were at a range, shooting all day. Fucking puts his fucking Glock 19 back in his gun box. Obviously didn't clear it at the end of the range. Sitting in a chair in the team room. And of course, Glock 19, if you guys are familiar, to take the top slide off, you have to decompress the trigger or else it won't come off. So he's fucking with it. He's got it in his hand here. And then he finally figures out he's got to detent the trigger. And he's got his pinky over the barrel, and he's got it pointed at his knee as he's sitting in a chair. He detents the trigger. Boom! Round still in the chamber. Blows his pinky off. Shoots himself through the knee. 2 weeks to being on an ODA. Officer shit, Ben. Officer
and he was
shit.
fired, right?
Isn't that right?
Craziest thing is, nope.
What?
Continued on as the team leader of that team.
How?
Bro, we're hurting bad out in Okie because everybody's got 6 dudes on their team, man. Like who you gonna replace him with?
All right, let's hit this intro up. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the War Room. Obviously talking about stuff prior to recording because we actually like each other. Here we go.
Jesus,
It looks so good. It looks so good when Ben comes up.
Jesus Christ is here.
Bam, welcome back, everybody. It's the War Room. We promised we were going to do intros this week. I even told the guys, I was like, think about your intro. So that's what we're going to start with first. Hey, we're going to talk about all the stuff that's going on. We're going to talk about the Signal chat, some other stuff going around in the Army. And of course, we're going to throw in a cringe military influencer to make a point because that's how you get views on the videos, guys. Anyway, let's turn it over to Ben. Ben, who are you? Where can people find you? And what do you care about?
Oh, I care about the United States of America, number one, first and foremost, but I'm a retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel, Marine Special Operations, Marine Raider, Force Recon, Infantry, all that stuff. And currently today, what I do is I do executive coaching. I help people to grow their businesses, and I do strategy and advise people on how to get from where they are now to where they want to be. And I do all kinds of coaching memberships, coaching programs, one-on-one coaching as well. Got a bunch of inspirational speaking coming up next month in New York City, which I'm excited about. So yeah, we're going to light some fire. It's going to be really good. And great to be here. Thank you to everybody for helping us to grow this channel, and fantastic with these guys as well.
The man, the myth, the legend, the guy that should never, ever, ever shave his beard, Nate, the Viking himself, Valhalla VFT. What's up, dude?
Everybody knows it, yeah. So Nate from Valhalla VFT. You guys probably already know me if you're following the channel. Retired Green Beret, just a fucking guy with a podcast at this point. My entire channel is based on hating on other veterans and Navy SEALs especially, so that's my sole focus. And if you like that type of thing, then you should follow my content.
You really should. But there's one person that can jump through the wall just like Mr. Kool-Aid. It's the man, the myth, the legend himself, Jake Zwig. Jake, what's up, dude?
All right, folks, I'm Jake Swig. I played football with the only Ben Pappas at the United States Naval Academy, where I also wrestled. I didn't get a SEAL bid out of the Naval Academy, so I drove a ship for 2 years, and it was probably the best leadership experience I ever had because most of the people I worked with hated the Navy. I then transitioned into the SEAL teams for 4 years, and I had a party. No, I didn't have a party. I had a rough time. It was good. A lot of good stuff, learned a lot of stuff. And then I got out, went to Michigan, got my MBA. And now currently I build champions for life. Last 3 weeks ago, we had an F-35 pilot, F-18 pilot. Just yesterday, we made a C-130 pilot. So
Hell yeah.
Put that on top of my dude that called me today saying that he got through the first part of the Q course, which he got recycled for last time. We're fired up today because you know what I'm doing? I'm just sitting here. I'm printing these motherfuckers.
We just here winning. We're just winning.
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 We're winning.
I'm the Air Force guy. I'm required to be here by executive order. Trump just dropped it. So what's up with the PJ? You might know me from One's Ready. All we do is focus on getting you through the hardest selection course in the DoD. Those are just numbers. Sorry, but we joined here on the War Room to really get the word out about these cool jobs that we do and all the doors that this can open. So, man, that's why we're all here together. That's all that we care about. We're going to start off with a little mentorship for the day, a little guidance, little panel discussion workshop. Jake, we're going to start with you. You got to give.
Hold on, Aaron.
Go.
What? 1 second. I just need everybody to know that I almost have a master's degree. So just because I'm on a panel full of very smart guys today, that I need everybody to know that I've almost completed a master's degree as part of my bio. That's all.
Oh, Nate, you're a sweetheart.
That's
What a
awesome.
nice compliment. Jake, you got to pass some bad news, man. And this is a hard thing to structure. It's a hard thing to do. It's always an awkward conversation in these hierarchies, but they exist everywhere. So we got to talk about it. You as a leader, what do you feel like the best way to bring somebody in for bad news is?
So I think it's really quantifiable. There's two different types of bad news. There's personal bad news, a death, something happened in your family, and then there's professional bad news. I think professional bad news is given like, hey, bud, here's the problem. Here's the, obviously, if I'm giving you bad news, that means that we've already had 50,000 corrective actions and all this other stuff. So it's not a surprise to you, right? Like I fired a chief. My first month in the Navy, I fired my chief. Had 26 years in the Navy. He was drunk every day he came to work, and I fired him. I said, hey, you're gone. So I can't fire you legally, but you can go down and don't ever come to the division again. So those are easy, I think. The hard ones are where, you get an Amcross message, true story, and I'm looking at the Amcross message, and a chief has to be flown off the boat to take care of his 2 remaining kids because they were in a love triangle or a love square, really. So I don't know what you call it. And the husband of the other family took 2 of his kids' lives, his wife, and then he killed the other chief's family and his wife. And so this dude had 2 remaining kids, young, a 3-year-old and like a 5-year-old. And now I got to tell him, okay, and I'm going to say this. There's some times when it's not your job. And so I was getting ready to tell him because I was the information officer to watch. And then I was like, man, let me go see what the captain says. She was like, oh no, ensign, this ain't your job. So like in that case, telling somebody that they got something tragic happen, I'm going to do a lot of crying because I'm going to relate it back to my grandfather leaving me 3 weeks before a state tournament. My grandmother leaving me. The last time I saw her was my wedding, the day after my wedding when we were flying out for the honeymoon at 3 a.m. because I kicked her door in and woke her up and was like, I love you, Grandma, if I don't see you again. And she died like 2 weeks later. So I think that's kind of, you got 2 different types and neither one of them are easy. And I think you got to have compassion when it's a family problem or a loss of life. There ain't no other way to do it without compassion.
Ben, I know as one of the first commanders of MARSOC, if not you're definitely the best looking. Like, I got to be honest with you. I don't even think there's a number. That. You're number 1, 2, and 4 for me. So you're really good. No, so I know you've been in this position before. What did you think about kind of heading into those sessions?
I think like Jake said, you've got to go into it with compassion, especially. So it all depends on the situation. Someone that knows it's a performance issue and then it's been a recurring performance issue and you're dropping bad news or some type of administrative action, you had to have had that built up ahead of time and doing the right things as a leader throughout that to give them corrective action, give them chances to be coached and all of that. Other times, if it's disciplinary action, I mean, I remember one of the first times, I think I talked about it before on the show, where I had to do a non-judicial punishment for a no kidding war hero, with a very high valor award, and passed all the sniff tests, the witness tests, all those things. And it was very hard. So I just, sat down man to man, like conversation. He said, he just said, sir, I'm ready for it. I'm want to do what I know needs to be done. And it broke my heart. I never wanted to do that. And I knew this person back from the Force Recon days too. This was at one of the Raider battalions. So no kidding, war hero, gunfighter. And as far as business goes, like I'm going to talk to some of these business leaders in New York City soon. But one of the most important things you have to be able to do is have hard conversations. You can do hard conversations and still be an empathic listener. You can still care about your people and have hard conversations and hold people accountable. This is the art and the science of leadership, And so I think, what we don't want to do is we don't want to gloss over things that you got to rip the Band-Aid off and you got to have the conversation. And that means you're also holding people accountable, holding yourself accountable. That's how you build a powerful culture as well, too. If the buck stops with you as a leader and you're not willing to have the hard conversations and uphold the standard, then, you need to step aside and you realize this is not your thing. You are not meant for this. Or number 2, growth mindset, get better at it. Okay. Because here's the thing. Leadership is a skill. this whole thing about people being born leaders, yes, in some ways, maybe if it has something to do with physical attribute, but a lot of the times we get better as leaders as we try, we learn, we grow, we fall, we relearn again, and all those things. So leadership is truly a skill that's learned over time. But that's my answer for that.
Nate, I assume you just beat them to death. Is that usually your normal kind of go-to when you approach these things?
No, actually, I was always known as a student hugger. You guys might be surprised to hear that, but everybody in here knows that term, right? Yeah, I was a big student hugger.
You're
big
giving comfort. Oh my
big
goodness.
mentorship guy. But like, I think what's important, what everybody here said, is like, if you're getting relieved from a position or duty in our organization, this isn't your first mistake. It's not your first whoopsie.
Right.
Unless it's like we're talking about like DUI, like killed your fucking significant other, right? That's a little bit different. I'm talking about performance based. Okay. So if you're getting removed from duty, it's because most likely it's not just that it's not your first mistake, it's that you're making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And we have a saying in Special Forces that you're free to make mistakes, but never make the same mistake twice. And typically from a performance standpoint, I'll take it from a senior NCO sort of realm here, is that the job is not accounting. Okay. The job is not finance. The job is war fighting, and performance absolutely matters, because if you can't do your job correctly, it's possible that other people in this unit or on this team, if you're a liability, are going to die because of your lack of performance. So you have to do it professionally, especially as a senior leader, as an NCO. It's important, like you guys mentioned, if you are a senior leader in the military, it's fucked up to say, but you build a packet on these people. By build a packet, I mean you're constantly doing the in writing administrative counseling statements. Every time you fuck up, I'm going to counsel you. I'm going to put it in your packet, so that when you become such a problem or liability, I can take that to my sergeant major and say, here, I have done everything. We have done everything we can as leaders on this ODA, from the senior leader to the team sergeant level position, to get him where he needs to be, and he just isn't doing it. Because what we don't want to do, and is sort of just like, you make one mistake, you're gone. Everybody sort of think we're perfect. We're not. You're going to make mistakes all the time. So as a leader, as long as you're mentoring those guys through those mistakes, that's great. But like I said, we were talking about before we started, had a guy on a team, lost a CF-19 computer, then loses all of the batteries to all the radios on our ODA, leaves them on a military AC-130 flying into Korea. So like, these repeated mistakes that I can't really fix, but I also have to, as a Green Beret, count on you to be able to work autonomously in a foreign country with maybe just you and one other guy. And you could cause an international incident if you're, not mature enough, you don't have the emotional maturity, or you keep fucking up. So it isn't like I don't want to be mean to you when I let you go, but if you're fucked up, you're gone, man. In our organization, if you keep fucking up, you're out. We can't have a liability for this type of job. This is the way I look at it.
That's why I love talking to you guys. It's like you all had the same, you guys all said a lot of the same themes, right? Like, we have a standard. It's unfortunate. You're going to have to just, rip the Band-Aid off and go have this open, empathetic conversation. It was a really good look at 3 completely different ways to handle the same problem that hopefully everybody learned from. Everybody go hit the thumbs up button. We're going to get into this first one. I'm going to open it up to you, Ben. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think Signalgate is, the Signal chat that leaked with some head officials? I'll bring up the news story here as we're talking through it. I've got the whole timeline, but overall, now that this thing has bubbled for a couple days, man, give me your roll up. What do you think's going on?
It's Aaron, it's Whiskey Leaks.
Oh, Whiskey Leaks. Perfect. It's even better. I really like it.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, go ahead, Aaron.
No, there you go. This is just on the screen. You'll see, I'll scroll through it. This is a very extensive timeline. Like, I do want to get to one point at the end that broke just before this, which is a real head scratcher, and you guys are going to be excited about it. Nobody's talking about it yet, because that is it literally just broke as we were opening up here. So we'll talk about that. We'll get a reaction in real time. But this is just the entire timeline. So, Ben, just go ahead and give your roll up.
I think probably, obviously, the biggest mistake made throughout this thing was that they included a journalist on there. So there are 2 sides of that coin, right? The journalist is included on there. The second point is that the journalist clearly broke trust with the group. Usually they keep their sources confidential, but you can guarantee this guy's never going to get another story again. He broke some special trust and confidence there. Secretary of Defense was saying basically these were not war plans, which is something we didn't even know where it was. It was just talking about an action taking place. I mean, if anybody, one of us would have done that, we probably would have had some repercussions. But again, this is different. And to quote what the Director of National Intelligence said, the Secretary of Defense can decide what's classified and what's not. He has special trust and confidence. He has, the confidence of the President of the United States. And I can tell you one thing, my gut instinct is that, Donald Trump is known for you're fired, right? And so if you don't think that there's a little pull on the code over and like, yeah, listen, this is your one pass, this is your bogey, don't make me look stupid again. If you don't think that happened, or JD Vance was like, hey, come here, bud, let's talk for a second,
Right.
You don't think that happened? I'm 100% it happened, because he doesn't care. I think that if you make another mistake like this, I don't care what you say, that you can classify it, not classify it. I just think that the optic is not good. It shakes confidence a little bit. It's not, a standard operating procedure, despite what the legalities are of what the, Director of National Intelligence said. And so I think he probably was, I'm sure behind the scenes, my guess is given a warning, don't make us look bad again. It doesn't matter what the particulars are. This doesn't fly. Make sure you're not communicating this to a journalist. And at the same time, kind of a thing is if this journalist had the confidence of the SecDef behind the scenes and then just like totally threw him under the bus, that's another thing entirely too. So
yeah, we're going to get to that journalist at the end. I think I have a pretty important question that nobody is really asking, and I'm definitely going to want to fire it up there. So Nate, here's the question, man. You know the difference between OPSEC and spillage. True spillage is a sensitive piece of material that gets out, and that's an actual problem that has its own chain of events that happens inside of the S2 world or the Intel world. From your estimation, what level of breach did this rise? Let's assume that it's a valid chat with everybody in it, and we have the facts that we have, right? How bad do you think? Was it an OPSEC violation for you? Do you think it's truly spillage? Because then I have a follow-on question for Jake.
I was muted. All right. Well, first of all, let me just say, of course, it was a fucking Green Beret who's behind this whole fucking thing, right? Thank you for that.
Had to be.
Like,
Had to
Green
be.
Berets just like 2025 is all of a sudden we're fucking Navy SEALs and incompetent. So, I mean, here's the deal. Like, I look back at, because I've looked at the clips of there's a clip I have stored because I'm going to talk about this on my live of Pete Hegseth talking about Hillary Clinton's email server. And he goes off about how absolutely this cannot happen. Not only should she be fired, she should be put in prison, yada, yada, yada. So we're going to talk about double standards here a little bit. Okay. Because it's our side and our party. We're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. That's what I see. But had it been Joe Biden and all the Democrats who would have done this exact same thing, you can guarantee every fucking conservative would have had torches out. Impeach him. Impeach everyone.
They would be writhing on the floor in rage. It would be
so if we're going to have accountability and we are going to be the party that is like, hey, no shit, we acknowledge our fuck ups, right? First of all, Pete Hegseth coming out the day after and saying that this never happened, not a great look. If he should have known that it happened. Two, Mike Waltz, love you, supported you. You need to be fired fucking immediately. You're gone. As a Green Beret, you're fucking gone. Why? As a Green Beret, for me, had I shared fucking sensitive or classified information on a Signal chat and got caught doing it as a senior NCO in my organization, I would have been fucking fried. My career would have been over and I would have potentially been put in prison. So for us to just gloss it over and be like, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal and we can declassify things. No, you fucked up. You need to own it. Somebody needs to take the accountability, which in this case needs to be Mike Waltz, and he needs to be shit canned. Unfortunately, I have nothing against the guy, but the reality is you were sending sensitive fucking documents over Signal chat and linked a fucking leftist reporter to the chat. The level of incompetence that goes into that is extreme. And so if we want to have accountability, Doge and all these things, we have to have it with ourselves, right? We're going to call out somebody like Tim Kennedy for doing his bullshit. Then we need to be willing to call out somebody like Mike Waltz for, hey, you fucked up. You're a fucking senior Green Beret, former, and now in this type of position, and you're doing this type of shit, homie. Like, I'm sorry, man. I don't think there's any fucking excuse for it whatsoever. And again, that's me as a guy who supports all these people. But you have to be able, for us to criticize the left, we have to acknowledge when we fucked up as well.
So quick question, because we mentioned it. So the classified documents, or that's kind of a line in the sand. Do you feel that they spilled sensitives? Or do you feel like it was like, first of all, it's a bad look if Signal was, or what? There's a White House memo that came out and said, hey, you're not supposed to use Signal. It was pretty recently, whatever. Great. All that aside, do you think that they actually rose to secret level sort of classifieds?
Oh, I think the information's absolutely classified, but is it the type of information that's going to have downward effects that are like super fucking disastrous for the nation? Because that's kind of how like we look at these security breaches, right?
Right.
No, fucking what are the Houthis going to do with that information?
Well, this is a perfect transition to Jake, because this is what I wanted to talk about. So let's talk about accountability for all. First of all, Nate, I completely agree with your take. I said it from the very beginning. I hope somebody gets fired over it, because they should. I don't care who it is. Like, if this ends up with tons of blowback, that's what you get. You have to be able to call balls and strikes. Jake, the question I want to ask you. So if we're holding everybody accountable and we're going to be the first people to play this game, should we charge Goldberg, the reporter, with sedition? He gained classified information. He published it outside of whistleblower protection. He was not acting as a journalist. Edward Snowden did the same thing. Does he get charges for sedition or not?
I like that question.
And see, I would go with Walsh before I go with him. Right? Like now.
No, it would now. Listen, it wouldn't be out. It wouldn't be out except for the editor of the Atlantic, Goldberg. He published it.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna take it from a different track. We have 40-year-olds now running the country who grew up texting. And so, like, I know for me and Ben, like, I wouldn't be putting anything in Signal chat ever. Like even with my team, I wouldn't be like, no, we're not having a Signal chat. Like, you got a group me chat, so it's open source and nothing crazy goes in here, right? But like, I just think like he's as guilty as Walsh is for putting him in the group. I'm not necessarily looking for heads here. I just think like, you know, like we took a dude that was a Fox CNN reporter or commentator and put him into one of the biggest seats in America, and clearly we didn't give him any babying, right? Like we didn't give him a fucking handler.
He got he got a lot of leash right away for a guy just getting the position, didn't he?
That's what I'm saying, right?
Where's his senior enlisted to whoop his ass? And be like, see him about to do that and be like, the fuck are you doing?
Hit him on the helmet.
Only way you survive.
Just walk somebody.
Sergeant Major, man.
Get this man a master sergeant immediately.
Exactly.
We immediately think like that, right? Yeah. Like we immediately think like that. Like, where was his handler at, right? Like I the other one we got, you know, the drunk one-eyed Navy SEAL, you know, congressman. He ain't said nothing crazy lately because they're taking his phone at 9 o'clock, slapping the shit out of him. When the bourbon starts flowing, he's got a handler now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I just think, you know, like it's just disappointing to me. But like at this time, like I feel like if you let anybody in, everybody is trying to look for an angle to disparage everybody. Right.
Yeah.
Like even the Democrats inside the party are doing it. The Republicans are doing it. Like I had an argument with my wife last night about whether or not Michelle Obama was getting $11,000 for gardening
every month.
Well, no, this is what she yelling at me. It's a lie. It's a lie. I said, what do you mean it's a lie? She's like, it's a lie. And then she's like, everybody's lying. Everybody. I said, holy, yeah. I was like, well,
this might be a new reality show, Jake.
I'm like, man, that's the state of America, you know.
I've got the idea. Jake just gives further and like he starts off with like very gentle conspiracy theories, but he goes further and further with like lots of proof. And he's got experts in his ear. He's got like Neil deGrasse Tyson explaining physics to him so that he can have this. And then we have to see what his wife is like. No, that's bullshit. And then what she's gonna come out a flat earther. She's gonna be like, listen, there's no curvature, dude. You can see if you had a Nikon 9000 camera, you can see all the way across there.
I'm gonna make us go viral. I just want y'all to know that there's a conspiracy theory out there floating around right now that will be the biggest thing in 20 years. That's all I'm
saying. Wait, hey, whoa. Don't say what you're gonna say, because I know what it is.
I'm not saying nothing. I ain't saying nothing. I'm just telling everybody this.
I got this excited feeling.
The YouTube video up tomorrow.
I mean,
mark the time. March 28th.
He's not
5:24 p.m. Central Time.
Well, as soon as Nate drops that video, I'm watching it.
I'm not fucking dropping it. It's
ain't
like
nobody messing with this, Ben.
Not yet.
Ain't nobody messing with this one. But it's coming.
Call your friends. Anybody, call all your friends.
You guys
off. We'll tell you guys
off
right now. Jake's talking crazy stuff. It's gonna be good.
All right, so Nate, I want to talk about probably the coolest angle. So it's not always 7D chess, right? I'm going to lead this out with there's something called Hanlon's razor, and you always assume incompetence before you assume maliciousness or some sort of other example, right? However, in this one, it's really fun to kind of turn that on its ear a little bit and just look at it. So I'm going to give you my favorite theory, and I want you to tell me if you think it's believable. Looking at these texts on Signal, the way that people are talking in the background and watching the coordinated spin, which was immediately like, oh, look at all these people. Look at these people that are having these adult conversations. And look, JD didn't want to bomb them, but other people did, and they had these talks, and that's how mature we are. Do you think it's weird that they added probably one of the biggest anti-Trump editors of the Atlantic over the past 5 years? Nobody's put out more hateful stuff than Goldberg. You think they added him on purpose, or do you think they added him by accident and then scripted the conversation because they knew he would put it out?
So I've been thinking about that, Aaron. I'm like, what was the angle to do this that benefits like the Trump administration, right? Because it's one of those things where you're like, how is, again, like a high level Green Beret plus like, because again, I expect way more out of him than I do Pete Hegseth, like a drunk major who was a Fox News reporter. Like, hey, I love it that you're in there, right? But like, I don't have
all the Hegseth is just catching strays right now. Somewhere,
I don't have crazy high expectations, right? I like what he's doing, but like, I expect somebody like Mike Waltz to fucking understand OPSEC at the level he's at, right? So, I've thought that same thing of like, what's the play here? The problem is like from the chats I've seen, like you actually leaked like real. I'm looking at him now from
that's my question too.
Timestamps to actual strikes and like what the F-18s were doing, and it's like, why the fuck would you want to give this Atlantic reporter that information? If you want to set him up, yeah, you set him up, but you don't leak real shit. You make this big deal about how, look, I got added to this. And then when he publishes it, it's just like a bunch of dudes like bullshitting. That I could have been like, oh, now we fucking try him for what you guys were talking about. Like, but that's not what really happened. What really happened is it looks like a real fucking Signal chat that they accidentally added this to. Wait, maybe they meant to add a different. What's this Atlanta reporter's first name?
I think it's Josh Goldberg.
Maybe it was Josh whoever that they meant to click in.
No, it was Goldberg from WWE. That's who they wanted. They wanted.
That's actually that's actually the funniest possible. It's like, Goldberg, what do you think? And he's like, spear him. Like, Goldberg, it'd be great. Yeah.
So to have him as a conspiracy theory standpoint, like it kind of like I could see them maybe doing something like that, but the fact they put real fucking information about the strikes in Yemen in there, it's like that's not fake information, dude. So why are we doing this?
When you look at that, when you parse the information out, right, it's like, hey, a strike package is taken off of F-18s. They're going to go ahead with this bombing mission that has been greenlit. I know that we can frame that two different ways, but time, places, locations, methods, and then actions that could fall into enemy hands. It doesn't really rise to that. I understand the people that are kind of pushing back on that, and I still firmly believe, by the way, this is a huge misstep. Then you're on the side of people that like you're in the business of protecting these people and growing them through your other ventures of motivational speaking and generally looking better than all of us. What do you do to somebody that like, let's say you're Mike Walls? How do you handle this right now? Like, the assumption is your staffer accidentally added this guy. It leads to a whole bunch of other questions, right? Like, who is talking with this guy that frequently? He's actually contacting the phone. Why is he even on, somebody's contact list, stuff like that. But how do you handle this fallout? What do you think the admin should do?
The industry standard is an investigation. The industry standard has to be a transparent investigation. And if they really want to hold accountability, if they don't want to be accused of what everyone's accusing this administration of, that's outside of it, that's not an insider, of, really taking liberty with what the law is and what they're supposed to be doing. You hold a transparent investigation, you hold people accountable, and wherever that may lead. Now, the only person I think at the top level, like I said, President Trump has to make a decision about the usefulness of this Secretary of Defense, and is this still serving his agenda? And that's the end of the day, and then Pete Hegseth has to decide where he wants the investigation to go. Hopefully he has some type of independent investigation where there's not an axe being held over the investigating officer's head, so that it's influenced, so that everyone's okay. It has to be honestly impartial, to a standard and transparent, and therefore you won't create bullshit in the ranks, because right now you and I both know, everyone here knows, in the ranks right now everyone's like, oh, here we go again. Is it just us? Justice or just us? How? Here we go again. The powerful and all these people like that get away with everything, and we get crushed.
Yep.
That's the worst thing you want to have happen, because I mean, so then, if Sergeant so and so and Staff Sergeant so and so are doing something, they're like, no, we're trying to move fast, so we're using off the shelf technology, which happens in SOF as well too, but it's already approved for certain things. But why are we getting in trouble for this? The highest level, our leaders setting the example, they're doing it too. So to get ahead of all that, the downstream effects of really eroding the culture, an investigation must be held. It needs to be a campaign plan throughout the units and talking about this and a new policy. And heck, stuff would be great if he's like, look, I fucked up. Okay. I was trying to move fast. I'm a dumbass too. Hey, I'm your leader, but I'm fucking stupid. I messed up.
Right.
Now
Yeah.
we're fixing it. It won't happen again. If you do that, everyone's gonna be like, he's a dumbass, like we're dumbasses. Let go.
For a
We're not
week.
follow him anywhere. You know what I mean?
And I got
So-
one for you, Ben. So
Yeah.
we're doing CQB. First day of CQB, big conversation. Got to drive to Blackwater, 58 miles from Little Creek. I live halfway there, so I said I'll meet you there. I left at 6 a.m. I got down there at 6:30, supposed to be there at 8, and I drove around and asked people at gas stations.
Did you take a picture of your watch and post it?
No, I just couldn't. This is 99,
He
2000.
took a picture with a disposable camera. He's like, you know what? CES is going to help me figure this out. in fucking 2
Sometimes I
weeks.
take a picture of my watch, 9 a.m., 8 a.m., and I post it.
You'd have to
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
write
yeah.
down.
I'm not Jocko. I'm not Jocko.
It's not even time stamped.
So like I show up 5 minutes late in my command, like my OIC had been MFing everybody yesterday, the day before, not to be late, right? So everybody was like, oh my God, the JG is late. I was a lieutenant at the time. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll handle this. Fucking stood up in front of the class. I said, hey, I fucked up. I got down here at 6:30. Clearly I couldn't find this fucking driveway. I'm gonna punish myself. I said, I will be here every morning at 5 a.m. for a week. Everybody was like, oh, fuck. And then I showed up at 5. I went to bed. I slept. They'd wake me up at 8 o'clock. We start fucking training, right? It wasn't really that big a deal. But 3 or 4 of the enlisted dudes were like, yo, brother, I just want to fucking tell you, like, I will never be late. And we commend what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
I was just like, man, fuck, it's simple, bro. It's simple fucking leadership.
That's good stuff. It's funny. I remember one time one of my friends told me this story, and I think he was in like one of the light armored reconnaissance units, and they had this battalion commander come in, or no, it was a company commander. I'm sorry, not battalion commander. It would never happen, but company commander. And the guy got overweight during his tour, and all of a sudden there's a big crackdown, like battalion, regiment wide, 1st Marine Division. I think General Mattis was in charge at the time. Like, off with everyone's head. You'll be there at 4 a.m. You'll be PTing by 4:30. Like, literally, no kidding. Like, stuff was happening, and it was for real. You're in green on green, silky, singing cadences, carrying guidons. We're going back to 1930s, 1940s Marine Corps. And bare knuckle PT beat each other up. Anyways, this dude's overweight, and my friend told me he gets in front of the whole. He had his chance to get in front of the whole company, and he has to talk about this new order. He starts talking about how we're not going to tolerate anyone being overweight, and we're not going to talk, and all this stuff like that. Because meanwhile, he's a pig in a human suit, and it's one of the most demoralizing things when your leader is not setting a standard. And if they're out of standard, he said all he had to do is like, look, guys, I'm in it with you. I'm fat as fuck right now, and I'm going to do something about it. You guys with me? Yeah, and they go with you. We're not going to let you be fat, sir. Right. You can be the people's poet. But when they try to cover it up and they bullshit, they try to like gaslight everybody. That it's the worst thing. It's the worst thing ever. It's like sending someone to do a mission that you would never do and say like, hey, it's a good idea. It's a good idea. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Right.
It's not a good idea. It's dangerous as hell.
But it wasn't a good idea. It was
No.
a bad idea.
You'll be showered with glory and honor, and maybe you won't come back. But guess what? I mean, so.
Well, to button this whole thing up, to talk about Signal Chat, what we would do and all the like, this is some bad news for President Trump. Justice Department lawyers appear in court for a hearing over a lawsuit brought against the Trump admin by a transparency group alleging that the use of Signal could have resulted in a violation of the Federal Records Act. The federal judge, James Boasberg. Does anybody recognize that name?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same judge that put the injunction on Trump for deporting illegal immigrants, the Tren de Aragua flight. So this guy back at it again, challenging the executive branch. That's not good. He doesn't have the best history. So that one is probably not going to go well. What we're going to do here, well, we'll see. We'll see what it does.
Yeah, where the message, if the message is set to disappear, is that what you asked, Jake?
No, I said he's going to disappear. He's going to get fed to the fishes.
The only thing I would say, like, if the signal messages were set to disappear after like 1 hour or something like that, or after a certain amount of time, that's one thing. But as we've found out, signal can be subpoenaed, and those messages
Right.
can sure as heck appear in court. So,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Yep. We're going to get to this super chat here. New Bob Dole, glad you're back. Random question. Any thoughts, feelings about HBO's Generation Kill? What would a great GWAT movie series need to include? Jake, we'll start with you because you were 65 years old when Generation Kill came out.
Yeah, I don't even know what Generation Kill is, but I will say
The
this.
television, you did the book that turned into the HBO miniseries?
Yeah, I never
Had
seen it,
Jake-
bro. I
No?
don't have
Okay.
HBO, bro. I'm on a budget, bro. I will tell everybody this: the best TV show that I think is out there is History Channel 6, and it's the only one that shows like. So I don't know if you guys. This is probably before everybody's time except Ben's, but Under Armour sponsored a TV show called Playmakers, and it was based on the NFL. The NFL told them that if they did not remove that TV show, we will destroy you, because it was so real. And so I equate History Channel 6 to like what really life in the teams is like, right? Like they got dudes sleeping with other dudes' wives, they got people killing people. One dude, murdered some people. Like it's just real. Then you go over to SEAL Team 6 and it's all like TV land, right? Like 6 dudes doing a mission that 30 dudes wouldn't do. So anyway, that's I don't know Generation Kill. Fuck, I don't know. I know fucking Barney and Rubble and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking the Flintstones.
All right. So before we get over to you, hopefully Nate's seen the movie, or else this little bit's going to go straight down the toilet. Jason F.A., thanks so much for your $10. Thank you guys for the great content on this channel and your personal ones too. Thanks. Super chats are never expected, but always encouraged. Thanks. We love you and we appreciate you. And thanks for saying so. Nate, have you actually seen the movie Generation Kill, or should we just go on? Ben doesn't care.
Nope. Haven't
well,
seen it.
All right. Good talk, guys.
I mean, I'll just say it's. I know it's about 1st Recon Battalion and Marine Corps, and I've heard. I've never seen it, but I know there's a lot of stuff in there that there are a lot of active duty guys at the time were just turned off by it. So I never wasted my. Shouldn't say waste my time. I never watched it. I won't say waste my time because I know Rudy Reyes and he was in it, and so a lot of people liked it. So
that's what I was going to say. The only reason I even know what it is because
that
dude
because Rudy
was on
the
Special Forces toughest
Yeah.
test.
I have read-
about it.
and I know people that served with him in combat. He's the real deal, man. He's the real deal. So
I have read the book. I have seen the series. I have strong feelings on this, but we're just going to move on. Here we go.
Perfect.
The Navy,
Good, I'm glad.
the Navy being gay again.
Yeah.
The Navy goes ahead and reiterates social media
Who'd have
limits.
thought?
I know, crazy. It's not. You know what? All jokes like this, running jokes, they come from generalizations, and those generalizations are usually multi-point generalizations. So when we say these sort of things, it's because there's a long history of like past behavior. That's why. So anyway, so they're talking about social media here in the Navy. Here's the funny thing that we're going to talk about, which is the military influencers paid by the Navy to go do military influencing things. So Kelly Sabrachi, I'm not going to play any of her videos because they'll get us demonetized and she'll cry about it. What's up with this whole where does social media need to go in the military? Like, how is it that you're going to put restrictions on this? How do you walk the line of the First Amendment and the American citizens' right to free speech and redress their government? Ben, how do you possibly navigate this thing? Is the Navy, do you think that the Navy needs to re-baseline this stuff or what?
I mean, obviously when we enter the military, a lot of those rights kind of go away. You're under the UCMJ. So if it's, if they decide that you're not going to be able to use social media, then, or not only in a certain way, then that's the way it is. Again, I haven't really paid attention to this one as much, but I think prejudicial to good order and discipline, and I think there's the general article as well too, for conduct unbecoming in a number of ways. And if they decide that it's hurting our warfighting capability or if it's hurting the culture, again, in the Marine Corps, that's my perspective, right? I don't know about the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army, but I do know that as an American military, that is elite overall in the world. Our U.S. military, like people asked me the other day, I was going live on whatever it was, TikTok or Instagram, and some young guys were coming out asking me about, hey, should I join this, join that? I said, look, here's the thing. You can join anything you want to. Just understand that if you have the privilege of being able to join the U.S. military, you're in the most elite armed force in the world, in the history of the world, no matter what you do within it, So just understand that. And if they may have to make a decision where they curtail some of the usage of social media and has nothing to do with the mission, then so be it. I mean, That's what I say.
Hey, Ben, I'd like to counteract that statement. I'm going to venture to say that if Attila the Hun showed up in Florida, we might be in trouble, bro. Just letting you know. Just saying.
No. One GBU and my friend, and they're gone.
All the guys on there.
I spent a lot of time in Mongolia, actually, guys. I can tell you all about that culture. It's fucking
Nice.
If you want to see fucking a bunch of Asian dudes my size and it would absolutely terrify you, then you could go hang out in Mongolia. It's fucking crazy.
Why is that scary? Am I racist? What happened there? Why is that terrifying to me? Like a very large Asian. Immediately, I was just like, that's so off-putting to me.
Yeah,
like a
it
huge
should be,
Asian,
especially Mongolian. They fucking took over the entire world at one point, man.
The only sort of idea I have about Mongolians I've gotten strictly from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure when they get Genghis Khan back and he starts broing around in the shop with them. Fantastic.
Wait, hold on. Wait, we're talking about two different things, right? Attila the Hun is not Mongolia, is not Genghis Khan, but they're
you said
similar.
Attila the Hun. Sorry,
similar,
but
they're different.
But
That's it. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. See, I didn't even know that.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story.
Wait a minute.
Now I am racist. Great.
One time I was talking about something in class, and I'm like, well, if the friggin' Mongol horde comes down with 1 million people, and the professor, super genius, was like, wait, man, I don't think there were 1 million people even in Asia at that time. I was like, well, you know what I'm talking about.
He actually did in real life.
She's like, wait, the actual army only had like 20,000. I was like, what? Rude to the point.
All right, I'm going to get us back on track. We're spiraling, thanks to me, because I offshooted that discussion.
I love the guy that caused the problem now rides in on the white horse with a solution.
I'm going to save the podcast at this point.
Hey, I did want to add one thing about the Navy. 90 sailors go down on the submarine. 45 couples come up.
Dang, what?
Yeah, there it is.
Put that out there.
There's some stuff.
Get us back on track, Nate. We're all over the place.
Social media. All right, I'll tell you guys, like, everybody always talks shit like you should be a quiet professional. Motherfucker, I didn't have social media for over a decade while I was in Army Special Forces, okay? I didn't. And I don't think that I ever needed it for anything when it came to this job. However, I do think that there is some strategic uses if the DoD is smart on how to use social media from a recruitment standpoint. Having Green Berets dance around on TikTok to fucking Latin music in uniform, that's not the correct way. But if you look at somebody like Nick Lavery, who does a ton of social media, goes to Special Forces assessment and selection, interacts with the students, everybody sees this fucking awesome war hero inspiration. They look at that and go, that's badass. I want to do that. So I do think in 2025, social media is media. You have to use it strategically and correctly. The Department of Defense can do that, but it's got to figure it out. And what I think is, if you are active, you're just a random active duty person. I don't care if you have social media, you want to use it, but you cannot do it in uniform. I think that is where we have to draw the line. I don't care what the reason is, unless you're sanctioned by the DoD to do it as a recruitment thing, right? That's fine. But because I look at it this way. If you join the U.S. military, much like Ben said, we are all professional soldiers. This is not some fucking ragtag thing where you sign up and do whatever you want in fucking uniform. No, when you wear that uniform, you are representative of the United States of America and the military. So when you're acting like a jackass on social media and TikTok in that uniform, you are embarrassing the military. It's the way I look at it. So I think put some limits on using social media in uniform, and then also strategically use it for recruitment purposes. I think we haven't figured it out yet, but I think that's probably going to be the way forward if we want to solve the recruitment crisis in some way. Somebody smarter than Neil.
If I can go one step further, and this may be a little controversial, maybe rub people wrong a little bit, but I think also using your office when you're in a position of power and you have a platform to break that kind of code of professionalism and to use it for political grandstanding, self-aggrandizement, and all of a sudden to say, I'm so outraged by what I'm seeing that I'm using my position to bring attention to this horrible thing that's happening. You know what? There's a friggin' process. It's not about that. This is about your ego. It's about you trying to be a spotlight ranger, all that stuff. And that's it for me, because there's a process and a way to do it that does not include you having to be on camera in front of the world and setting yourself up for your next thing. I'm sorry. I mean, that's the job, man. That's the job. And so, I mean, what concerns me is that when we start getting away from the professionalism, the standards, and people following friggin' orders, man. I mean, everyone's got some opinion now. In warfare, there's no time for that shit. You know, real combat. There's no time for that shit. We did some good ass whipping over the past 20 years, whatever, in the long war. That's great. But I got news for you. When you fight the Wehrmacht, you're fighting a uniformed peer competitor. It's gonna be a whole other ball game. There's gonna be no time for nonsense, man. So that's my concern.
I think I have the one exception, Jake. I know you're going to be able to help me out with this one, but what if these influencers are big booty Latinas? Does that change the calculus for you at all? Because it honestly does for me. And I say this as a married man. I just got to tell you, it turns out I have a lot more toleration of a gray area if they're
Aaron,
may throw some tattoos on it. What?
Aaron, let me tell you something. I just watched this the other day, man. 87 million married men on OnlyFans.
Get out of here.
The highest.
Shut it down immediately.
Wait, what do they do? You mean they're on there like they have their own shows?
They're watching.
They're like donating
subscribers.
to these.
But here's what I want to say. I'm gonna throw in some facts. Okay, let's go. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a page to go look at. It's Rob Roy, C2 pilot, who makes the best videos in the world. You can't not watch
on
these
OnlyFans?
videos. No. On YouTube. He's on YouTube. He's just landing a C2. He walks through it. It's awesome. Here's what I'm gonna say. He's got 110,000 followers. His videos are doing 3 million views a piece. Okay.
Wow.
These are the best recruiting videos for the United States Navy because it's just him talking.
Yeah.
They are awesome. I want to send a shout out to Rob Roy. I need to get him on my channel. But it's like I've been watching this dude for pretty much as long as he had a channel. And he's just like, hey, we're pulling up to Cat 2. You'll see on the right, there's a guy with a yellow flag. He's directing me. I'm going to transition over here. And it's just awesome, right? There's nothing malicious about it. And he's flying a trash truck. Okay, like let's be honest.
Yeah, there it is, dude.
Look at that bad
jump
boy.
out of in level 1s right there.
Those are great.
Sky van, dude. The Sky van.
Shout to Rob Roy.
I think you can do it. Obviously, we know he's got permission, okay, because he's got GoPros in the planes and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing that I always think about is it's gonna be tragic if we see Rob Roy kill himself on a cat shot or something like that, like he dies.
Yeah.
But my point is, like, done the right way, it's a huge force multiplier, right?
Yeah,
like it's a force multiplier for recruiting. But you know, like Nate did a video on Dancing Green Beret. Okay, great, right? Like, I don't want to say any kind of parameters around it, because if you're going to get to these 13, 14, and 15-year-olds, you got to be on social media. You ain't going to get to them no other way, okay?
Yeah.
Another stat I'm going to throw out there because this was crazy. So, obviously, between 95 and 2000, social media started, MySpace, stuff like that, okay? When it started, you spent 70% of your time with your friends, okay? Think about that. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole numbers, but now you spend 15% with your friends and 90% with social media. There was like 10 categories that they were weighing out. School, everything else. It's not even close. Social media is at the top by 90%. 90% of your time is consumed by social media. If you're under the age of probably 40 would be my guess. So if you're not using social media to recruit, you're not going to win. That's all I'm going to say.
I say shut it all down. They're all terrible. Do you think so?
Oh, no. Wait a minute. Hang on, Aaron. If I'm the president, you better believe
2032s. Wait, 2032.
2032. I'm getting rid of everything, bro. I'm getting rid of cell phones. I'm getting rid of, like, you can't have a cell phone until you're 25. Okay? Fuck it. I don't give a shit. You can't be on social media. You can't be on social media until you're 25. And I'm getting rid of OnlyFans. I might get rid of all the porn sites. As much as I love porn, I love porn. I love it.
Only to open up his own monopoly version.
Somebody clip that.
Somebody clip that right now. Clip it immediately.
I love it.
Out of context.
I'm just telling you, like, we're going down the road to Japan, bro. We're gonna have 35-year-old virgins running around here that never know what it feels like. Okay, like, that's not good for America,
that's
bro.
A real
like,
thing. It is
that's real talk. Like, if we don't figure out what we're gonna do with the problem, and, like, you know me, I live in extremes. Like, get rid of it all. Like, screw it. I don't care, right? Like, write Instagram a check. Hey, man, like, they'll recover. You know, like, we try to get rid of liquor, that didn't work. We know we ain't gonna get rid of prostitution, that ain't gonna work. But we can get rid of social media. We could put some like, we could put some parameters around cell phone usage and stuff like that, because we're killing our youth. We're killing it.
Yeah.
That sounds super, super communist of you, Jake.
Hey, everybody, Nate's for sex work. Yeah, very liberal of you, bud. Is it Portland?
Oh God, they
Is
got
it
the
Portland?
Rangers. They got the Army Ranger.
Oh,
They
man, they
him.
got him.
They got him.
They got him.
Oh shit.
All right, transition to this last one here. So we're going to talk about it. You never like to see a death, period, but the last thing you want to see is a training death. So just recently, the Army had 4 American soldiers killed after they went missing on training mission in Lithuania, just miles from the border. So what they think happened is that these young men went into a body of water, whether that was one of the fens that they have out there in Europe or whether it was a little river, and they're getting the recovery methods underway. Man, you hate to see this, Ben. You know, what are some of the classic training breakdowns that can lead to this sort of thing?
I think they're so in any high risk training, not that this was high risk training itself, but it can turn to that quickly. But you have causal factors and contributing factors, right? So a causal factor, right? It's the chute failed to open and you hit the ground, right? That was the cause of death. Contributing factors could have been the riggers didn't get adequate sleep. They were pushed on their standards. There wasn't a first, they didn't do, their first inspection, second inspection before going out, where they packed their own chute, didn't have adequate training to do that. Depending, I'm saying all these different things. Um, and sometimes it's someone also just ignoring what the warnings were. I was unfortunately lost a number of men on a helicopter training accident in one shot, and lost a team of operators. And very experienced pilot, thought he could get through when weather was turning badly, and he lost the horizon and flipped upside down, and that was it. They went down and instantly killed. So I think there are a number of things that can happen from that, but unfortunately it can be just negligence where someone thinks they can do something and not realizing that, in this case the risk is not worth the reward not to do it. So I don't know what happened in this case 100%. Whether it's an equipment failure or whether someone, again, like in the case I said of the pilot, they believe that they can make something happen despite all of the evidence and all of the advice and even direct orders to the contrary. And unfortunately, it's a very dangerous job inherently. Even driving in convoys, you have a vehicle rollovers killed a lot of people. They go upside down into a small body of water and people all drown. Without any explosives or anybody shooting at you. Unfortunately, that's the reality.
Nate, you've done a ton of high risk training, both in the military and, continue with you on the range and stuff. How do you build training events so that this stuff doesn't happen? What are some key markers you look for?
I mean, it's a lot easier when you talk about like live fire ranges and stuff like that. I have other instructors. I have hands on you immediately. When you get into training events, like let's say military free fall, combat dive, driving vehicles, I don't really have the command and control over you on immediate actions, right? Of whoops, I accidentally turned the steering wheel in the wrong spot and go into the water, or hey, I did something wrong underwater with my dive equipment, right? Like I'm not there on top of you with you, right? Whereas in like military free fall school, you're gonna have that instructor right next to you when you first start, but after a while, you're jumping out with an instructor in the back and the front, and everybody's doing their own thing. So can you totally eliminate these types of things? No, you can't. You also have, 18 and 19-year-old kids who are behind the wheel of these vehicles, right? So not to say that's the reason why, but like it's not like there's the most experience in the world when it comes to a lot of the training we do. We have guys that are doing training that are new to what they're doing, right? Typically I remember we always put like the most junior guy ever in charge of driving the vehicle every single time whenever we did it. And so I just think that there's an inherent risk that comes with military training, and part of that is that guys are going to die during that training, just like men and women and moms and dads are going to die in car accidents on the road, on a highway every day. Unfortunately there's a risk at living, right? Just being alive and doing things day to day, like you're running that risk, and that extends to the military. So guys are doing training out in an area they might not have been. You take a wrong turn, you're all of a sudden in the water in a vehicle like that, and you can't get out. I think it's super unfortunate, but helicopters crash all the time, right? Planes crash all the time. Like it's just kind of like part of the game that you're doing a high risk. Military is high risk in a lot of ways, especially in anything combat arms, and this is the unfortunate reality that these types of things do happen. And most of the time they're accidents, right? It's not even necessarily negligence. It could be at night. You accidentally take a right when you meant to take a left, and all of a sudden you're in a bog in a swamp. You can't get out and you're drowned. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it happens.
You're an 18-year-old under nods, you know?
Yeah.
You get bit by a snake during land nav at the Special Forces qualification course. We had a dude get killed by that, got killed by a water moccasin. I mean, it's just dumb luck when it comes to some of these things, right? So it can happen.
Imagine not even being able to lie to the people at home about why you failed out of SFAS. You know what I mean? Like you got bit by a snake. Like that sucks. You're not even going to get any pussy from that. So
Killed
Jake,
him, right? Killed him.
Yeah.
He died from it, unfortunately.
The last one of today. So in sort of sad news,
can I add one quick thing to that too? I'm sorry, Aaron.
Go ahead.
One quick thing, what you said, Nate, that we put our junior people on the vehicles, right? So I had a chance. I used to get to work with the Italian SEALs and do ship takedowns and underways. And one thing I noticed for their mobility teams, they matriculated operators that got senior into the mobility team. So a senior operator became the driver of their super amazing Gucci boats. Like you can't even believe how good these boats were for doing underways against against cruise ships and things like that. I got to do a few of those with them. And but what I noticed is that the younger operators were on the assault teams, the senior operators of the mobility team and insertion teams. And that's how they made sure, because they thought the most important thing was getting you to the X. And then actions on, they thought, just being a qualified incursori, a raider for them, we're going to get the job done. So not the junior guy, not the 18-year-old driving.
Yeah. All right, so moving on, Mason, thanks for that super chat, dude. I appreciate it. We just had a whole section built up for you in the show prep. That's what we bring you here. Not only are we the best show on TV, period, anywhere, but we can also read minds, and you can't fact check that because this time I can at least show that it was true. Joe Harris, Sergeant Joe Harris, believed to be the oldest surviving World War II paratrooper, has died. In sad news on the 28th, that was today, just breaking. Sergeant Joe Harris, believed to be the oldest surviving World War II paratrooper and a member of the U.S. Army's first all-black parachute infantry battalion, has died. He was 108 years old. This guy's got a couple of 100 jumps on him, but 108, just super good. Harris died March 15th in a hospital in Los Angeles, surrounded by family and friends. He was a very loving man. Jake, how important is it to make sure that we tell these stories to everybody that's listening out there?
Oh man, we gotta go to the black guy for this.
You do it. Come on.
Hey, let me say this.
I set it up from the last story. I was like, no, I know where my wheelhouse is.
I'm gonna call you on this. So listen, here's the deal, man. I think the fact that he's 108, right? We need to celebrate his life. Dude got after it. Okay, you cross over 90, I think it's all bets are off. Like just party as hard as you can. The fact that like you think about it, that was a long time ago. 1944 is a long time ago. Like we're in 1925 or 2025 right now. We're almost 100 years away from that. So he was a young man in combat. Big deal, right? I know there's a bunch of tension right now about what's going on in the world. Here's the facts, man. Our history is pretty much as mixed up as it could possibly be, like a box of sprinkles, right? Like a sprinkle shaker. We got people from all over the Western Europe. We got people from all over Asia. We got people from all over South America and America now. Obviously, we got the fourth. You may know how many African slaves there were. Let me ask this. How many African slaves got imported to America? Let's ask a real turning question, because this one shocked me when I first learned this. Does anybody know the answer?
I don't know. How many?
400,000.
Okay.
There was 7 million sent to the Caribbean, and there was 25 million sent to Brazil. So like in a grand scheme of our history, we're talking about 400,000 people. Like, come on, man. What are we talking about here? Let's just be good Americans, celebrate a lot of people, right? Like got Tuskegee Airmen. We got William Goins, first Black Navy SEAL. We got, name a Marine that got 50,000 medals. What's your
Chesty Puller.
Chesty Puller, right?
Come on, man.
You got Patton. I was just reading an article about Patton's crazy ass, right? Like, I just want to celebrate everybody, man. Like, and that's the whole thing. Like, we need to celebrate this dude's life. Absolutely. He's 108 years old. How about we just celebrate the fact that he's 108? I just watched a video in Japan. They got the 100 games over there. There's a couple cities over there where they got a bunch of centurions and they running track meets once a month.
You're gonna
And
break a hip. You know that. How
I'm
many
just
hips?
telling
No.
you, like,
No.
like-
Let me tell you, I lived in Japan for years, and when you talk about construction, right? Anytime you like in America, you come up, it's like 10 fucking 350-pound dudes doing construction. One guy's working, right? That's the way construction looks in America. Japan, it's all people 70 and up. All the elderly people do construction.
Why?
I don't know. You tell me, because they're still healthy and they can fucking do it.
How
And
can I
they
tell you?
employ
I asked
everyone,
you.
and no
I
one's,
asked you
no
for
one's
help. You said you
unemployed.
live there.
No one's unemployed and no one's homeless. They make sure everybody's got a
That's
job.
100% true. No homeless people.
Yeah.
they just working.
Fantastic.
Let's go.
Major
Let's-
capers. Amen there. Major capers. That's a story.
Oh,
that needs
Major
to be
Capers
told.
killing it, bro. They trying to get him a Medal of Honor right now, bro.
They've been trying for a while. He needs to get it. It's unbelievable story.
I learned the dirty secret. He's outside the 5-year window, so it takes a congressional vote for him to get it or something like that. It's a huge deal if you're outside the 5-year window to get the medal.
Just a travesty. Same thing with Colonel Ripley. Travesty. Not getting that medal. The Bridget Dong Ha, the whole story is insane. Insane stories.
Crazy. All right, everybody. That was a good one. Nice and tight, right in an hour. We appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to turn it over to everybody. Make sure to put your socials out so everybody knows where to find you. You guys follow us, like us, hit that subscribe button. Just caress it. Just give it a little pet. Make sure it's on so that when we do go live, you guys are here. Make sure to catch the Political Sit Rep. We're back on Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern. That's the first time I've ever said that correctly. You can follow me at Aaron Loves America, Aaron_Loves_America over on Instagram or on Twitter at Aaron Loves America. And then, of course, you'll see me as many times as Nate invites me on his show or all the stuff that we do together. You know why? Because we're stronger together and we're better. Nate, what's up? Where can people find you?
Well, just want everybody to know that I host all of you on my platform, and I don't think me and Jake do a show together. Aaron's had me on his show. So actually, Ben, you're the only one
It's
that
coming.
hasn't had me
Ben
on your
doesn't
platform.
have a show.
Even though
It's
You've been
coming.
on my platform, like no big deal.
He wants you to bring him up as a guest speaker.
He has 3
wants you to
videos
bring-
on YouTube.
He wants you to bring him up as a guest speaker. And next for 5 minutes, Nate Cornacchia is just going to fucking blow your mind. And then you're like, wow, that was crazy, huh?
I'm sick of the disrespect, Ben.
It's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
But no,
everybody's
Valhalla
gotta help me out. You
VFT,
gotta jump.
YouTube and Instagram. I mean, that's the only 2 places I'm really at. In 1 hour, I do my weekly live. Most of you probably already fucking know that, so stop by.
All right, guys. So
Ben,
where
yeah.
I'm most active on Instagram. I think a bunch of you are over there. TikTok, I'm on there as well too. LinkedIn, I put out quite a bit. And then I am actively starting to get very interested in my YouTube. So just starting to learn the ropes from these killers over here. But my
Yeah,
pledge to
buddy.
all of you is that I'm going to be having my own YouTube show very soon. I got to get done with a bunch of speaking events that I have coming up, which are taking up a bit of my time. So I've got to it's basically putting on like a 1 hour play every time I talk, and I'm doing like a few days in a row. So I've got quite a bit of preparation going on. But after that, definitely gonna be turned into some kind of cool show. Nate will be on there, no friggin' doubt about it, and everyone else will be on there too. We're gonna have an awesome time. So thanks so much, everybody. I appreciate all your support.
Jake, what's up?
Hey, man, shout out to Mason Young for bringing back the fact that Ben spends his weekends with J-Lo.
Shout out.
Kind of let it die for a couple months, but
Nah.
I'm just telling you. He
We
sent
ain't
me
about
the
it.
pictures. Hey,
She-
the derriere is as advertised, and Ben looks really good behind it, driving it through the bed sheets.
He's
Okay?
talking.
All right.
Wow.
So anyway, I'm going to end with
Ben
this.
Affleck, not this Ben. Ben Affleck.
I'm-
Allegedly. Oh,
I'm gonna
fucking
end-
allegedly.
I'm gonna-
Can somebody?
But Ben,
No,
it's just
not
J-Lo,
allegedly.
bruh. Okay, it's
Confirmed.
not allegedly. It's
100%
fact,
confirmed.
Okay, 100%. Okay, so listen up. Here's the real deal. You guys know where to find me. That's easy. I just want to tell everybody though, you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and I will commend Ben, Aaron, Nate, crazy dude named Jamerson that's old and crusty, and Jay for forcing me to run every day. Because if you don't run in this group, you ain't gonna keep up. Like there's some dudes in this group behind the scenes that are doing some shit that's so big. Like I'm just telling you, like Ben Pappas is moving mountains, Aaron's moving the whole fucking earth around and shit. Nate's over there crushing it. He the highest number we got. I'm just telling you. So go find better friends, go find fucking winners, and you can't help but try to keep up, man. Like I'm telling you, it's one of the biggest things that's happened to me in the last 6-7 months messing with all you guys. Is like I'm like I thought I was doing well, but now I know I am because I'm like, man, I'm just running to keep up.
I echo that 100%, brother. Same thing. Same feelings
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to kiss every one of y'all goodnight, even if Nate loses the beard, which is disgusting. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Remember,
I'm
Bye, fellas. Take care.
first group, brother. You kiss your homies goodnight around that.
absolutely. Live every Friday. Don't miss it. Political Sit Rep, 6 p.m. on Tuesday. See you then. Late.
See you guys. Take care.
Ciao.